Okay, now in this lesson we're going to move on to some other transitions and show you some of those attributes and a couple of other options that you get with different transitions. So reviewing, we just did a dissolve, which you saw where one clip dissolves slowly or gradually into another clip. It fades out as the other one simultaneously fades in. Okay, now that had a shortcut, which was Control D, Command D if you're on a Mac, because it was the preset default transition, which is something that you set up in your preferences. So we're going to leave that alone, but if we want to use other transitions, we have to go elsewhere. We have to go find them in a panel, and that panel is up here in the effects panel, which is currently docked with the project panel, just like you have the effects panel and the audio clip mixer panel docked with the source panel. So I'm going to click on the effects panel, and that comes to the forefront, and you have various folders in here that hold different kinds of effects: audio effects, these presets, audio transitions, video effects, and video transitions. We want video transitions, so we're going to click on the triangle and open that up, and that reveals some subfolders, right? If we go into dissolve, we will see the cross dissolve, which also lives here. So it's not that you can only do it with a shortcut, but it's the quickest way to do a cross dissolve. I'm going to close that up. Let's look in 3D motion, and that has a couple options. One is a cube spin, so this is one other type of dissolve. But before I do that, I almost forgot. I'm going to backtrack for a second into my project bin and throw this other SOT into the timeline. So I pulled it up here. I'm going to grab it and drag it right up against my other clip and place it there. And so now I'll go back into the effects and I will grab that cube spin. I'm going to click on it, hold down my mouse, and drag it. And I get my hand, right? I'll get that sort of hand icon. Then I bring it down, and as I bring it down over the clip, I bring it right over the cut point. Right, I bring my mouse over the cut point, it highlights that area, I just let go and it places it there. And of course it gives me the red line telling me I need to render. So I can do the same kind of adjustments on this as the other ones. I can click on it, double click actually, open up the transition, and I can see the duration. I can change it. I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to, while it's selected, click on it again, go up to effects control, and there I can see the information that I saw before on the dissolve, but now I see it on the cube spin, the duration, the alignment. I can change all of those things, but I also have a couple other options. First off, I do have a little preview window here. When I hit play, I get a preview of the effect. Let's actually look at it down here in the timeline so you can see it better. So I'm going to drag through it, and you can see it kind of pushes the other clip out of the way, almost like it's turning a box. So it's a little bit more of a sort of a 3D effect, right? But you can also change the direction of that here. If I wanted to not have it go from left to right, I could switch it. And let me stop here in the timeline and click the other arrow, and it will now play. That didn't really change the direction. Let's try it here. Seems to be doing the same thing. Yes, it does. I can go, here we go. I can click on this, and it will play top to bottom. So that will change that direction. So that's one way to change it. If I come in here, I can see it as well. So you can choose whichever way you want to go. I'm going to set it back to that left-right effect. So it comes, there we go. So the SOT pushes the other shot out of the way and comes in. Okay? So I can then hit in and out in my timeline to mark that, and I can come up to sequence and I can hit render effects in and out, and it renders that. Took a second longer because it's a little bit more complicated than the cross dissolve. It had maybe one or two more little attributes to it, or characteristics. So there it is. Now I'm going to clear that in and out, and let's replace that with a different effect. So a transition, I'm going to click on cube spin and hit delete, and it goes away. Be careful, I'm going to Control Z. Careful not to click on that but also highlight your clip, because if you hit delete, they both go away. So I'm going to Control Z, bring that back. Anytime your clip is highlighted, that means it's active, and if you click delete, it will go away. Click only on the cube spin, place your mouse right on the transition, it will turn white. Now you delete, and only it goes away. Okay? Notice too that I don't have to have my playhead right over the cut point. So let me close up 3D motion. Let's go take a look at one more in page peel. Now you've got a page peel and a page turn in that folder. Let's take a look at the page turn. Click drag. I look at it. I don't like this one very much. It's very flat, not exciting. So I'm going to click and get rid of that. Let's try the page peel. Bring that over it, and I can see that that's a little bit more interesting. It's got a little bit more of a three-dimensional quality to it, right? So I will click it. My effects control was already open, but I didn't see anything because there was nothing active. So when I clicked the transition to pull it up, it sure enough comes up in my effects control. So again, I can preview here and I can see it's coming in from the upper left to the lower right. If I want to reverse that, I can click in the other direction and it will now peel from the bottom and go up. And that of course is reflected in my timeline. So now it's peeling up and revealing the next shot as it goes. So I'm going to put it back to the upper left and have it keep the default, because that to me kind of just works better, like you're turning the page. Okay, now here this was already rendered, which is nice, so I don't have to re-render it. Okay, meaning it's already ready to go. So that's a couple of other transitions with some slightly different attributes, but always having the same core attributes, which was alignment, duration, and the type. So those are always going to be present. Then these additional characteristics that you can manipulate, depend on the transition. Some have borders that you can adjust, etc. But these core attributes are really what are known as transition settings. Will always be there: alignment, duration, and the type of transition. So we're going to move on to the next tutorial and look at basic titling.